So we've got to talk about 3 major warning signs that tell you you are deficient in, honestly, the most powerful nutrient, I actually think a lot of people would say this, on the planet, and that is magnesium. If there's any vitamin or nutrient or mineral that deserves a massive amount of attention because it's that powerful, it's magnesium. So in this video, I want to talk about these warning signs, and then I want to talk about how do you navigate the different types of magnesium, because in both of these conversations, there's a lot of nuance and a lot of things to discuss. So let's dive in so you can see where you're at and you can make smart, informed decisions for yourself. Ready? Here are the 3. First, I want to point out that we have a massive amount of people in our population that are deficient in magnesium. And here's the number one reason. Well, I'm going to give you 2 reasons, but I'm going to give you the number 1 reason why. It's because we're so freaking stressed out. And when stress goes high, cortisol goes high. And when cortisol goes high, magnesium goes low. The more stressed you are, the more magnesium your body is using. The second reason that we're so deficient as humans in magnesium is because of the soils that our food is grown in right now. They're so depleted, especially here in America, where we're monocropping and we are growing our fruits and vegetables in dead soil as opposed to leaning into regenerative farms that have a more mineral-rich profile, which would give you more magnesium in your foods. So it's really interesting because the soil your food is grown in really will determine the nutrient profile. So with that in mind, there's some scary statistics, like a 2018 study found that 20% of Americans are magnesium deficient. And what I find really fascinating for those of us that have gone through the menopause experience is that they're saying that about 84% of postmenopausal women are deficient in magnesium. That's a lot. So let's talk about the signs, and then we'll talk about what we can do to fix this. So the number 1 sign, and I would put this on a spectrum, is muscle cramps. So calcium and magnesium work in opposition. So calcium helps with contracting muscle. Magnesium helps with relaxing muscle. So it's a little bit like estrogen and progesterone. You know, when estrogen goes high, she makes sure that she keeps progesterone in check, and vice versa. So we have to make sure that our calcium-magnesium balance is in good shape. And so what the calcium will do is it'll help with contraction of a muscle, and what magnesium does is it helps with relaxation of a muscle. So if we are low in magnesium, now all of a sudden that balance is off, and we're going to get a lot more cramping. It might feel like a Charlie horse. You wake up in the middle of the night. It might be that all of a sudden you're just feeling a lot tighter. Your muscles are feeling a lot tighter, which is, those of us who've been through the menopause process, that's definitely something that has shown up, especially with the decrease in collagen. So make sure that if you're getting regular muscle cramps, I want you to translate that into, sounds like I might need more magnesium. Okay, second explanation or reason or sign that you may be low in magnesium is poor sleep. Now, I know if you're a menopausal woman, you're like, whoa, that's every night for me. But it doesn't always happen just in the menopausal years. A lot of you that are men listening to this, a lot of you that are cycling women are getting hooked in these moments where you're getting poor sleep. And how this works is that there was a couple interesting studies that I thought, is that it doesn't allow you to get into a deep, restful sleep. It's a funny little combination, because when you're low in magnesium, at night, your muscles aren't relaxing. We already talked about that, so you can't quite let your body go. And it's not letting you get into a deeper state of healing sleep. So we call that deep sleep. And because of that, during the day, low magnesium can cause sleepiness. So it's kind of a catch-22. You're not getting the quality of sleep that you need at night because you're low in magnesium, and you're not staying awake during the day like you should. It can contribute to daytime sleepiness. So it's got this weird catch-22 that I encourage you. Again, it's so easy to take, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. Third thing that I will tell you is a sign that you are low in magnesium is chronic stress. Now, what's the sign of chronic stress? And there's a lot of signs. When we look at chronic disease, there is a constant statement over and over again that chronic disease, a big contributing factor is chronic stress. But I don't know about you. For me, I have felt in my life that stress sneaks up on me. There's a lot of things I like to do in my life, and sometimes I can't tell that I'm getting into this chronic stressed state. So I've now learned to navigate different cues. So one of those cues is how quickly I react to stress. When a stressor hits me, if I'm not able to pause and just take a breath and digest that stress, that's a sign that chronic stress is catching up to me. Insomnia, or trouble falling asleep, because sometimes I find I get to the end of the day and I'm like, my brain is so wound up that I can't seem to get myself to relax and fall asleep. That can also be a sign of chronic stress getting the best of me. The other sign of chronic stress getting the best of you is that you're doing everything you possibly can and you're not losing weight. So your body is like, nope, not going to release this weight because we're still running from the tiger. Now, with that in mind, how does magnesium specifically work with chronic stress? And there's a couple of interesting studies. And one of the key ones that I just want to point out is that magnesium has the power to inhibit the cortisol response. So this is massively important because when we're in a stress-saturated world, our body is like always putting out cortisol. Now remember, when cortisol goes high, you become more insulin resistant. When you're more insulin resistant, your sex hormones get thrown off. So when we bring magnesium into the picture, we start to see that it can inhibit the cortisol response and we don't get that cortisol saturation as easily. There was an interesting 2020 paper that I want to bring to your attention where researchers described the vicious circle concept of magnesium and stress. And it goes like this. Basically, stress goes up, magnesium goes down. Magnesium goes down, and then we're more quickly for stress to go up. And then we deplete magnesium more. And then we become easier for stress to grab a hold of us. We have a quicker stress response, and it just creates this loop. So let's fix that. Sound like a plan? So here's what you need to know when you look at the different kinds of magnesium. So first, before I talk about the different kinds, I want to talk about that there's different ways to get magnesium in your body. And I'm a fan of doing all three of these ways. So one way is through supplementation. We'll talk about that in a moment. The other way is through IV. You can check out the Resetter podcast. I'm bringing you an IV specialist who's going to break down all of the different IVs so we can understand that. But anybody who has ever had a magnesium IV will tell you the minute it goes in your body, there's like this relaxation phase. It's like the greatest calming effect. In my IV place, they always call it mother's little helper. I'm like, yeah, because it just calms your down. It's amazing. So you can get it through IV. And then another way that I love to get my magnesium in is through skin. So you can do it through a bath. There's a lot of float tank places. So for me personally, I like to mix those different variations. Do my supplementation, do my IV, do my floats, or take a bath with put a big bag of magnesium salts in there. So I like to cycle and get them all in different ways. Now, as far as the magnesium type, the major, most powerful magnesium is magnesium glycinate. Now, it is the one that is the most effective form of magnesium. It's highly absorbable and it works very quick, but it's very expensive. So a lot of magnesium supplements may not have it in there. I highly recommend you check it. Now that you know it's sort of the all-purpose magnesium, you might ask your IV place if they are doing magnesium glycinate, because it is the most powerful. But there's a couple other that I really like. Magnesium citrate is also really available, but I like it specifically for digestive issues. So those, and it's interesting because if we bring the stress response into the conversation here, remember that when you're in fight or flight, a lot of times the digestive system shuts down. So we got to get you into a relaxed state. Well, I just told you magnesium lowers cortisol. It can help you get into a relaxed state. But it also can relax, specifically if you use magnesium citrate, it can actually really relax your digestive system and make it so that you actually have a daily bowel movement, which is imperative, super important to have that daily bowel movement to get the toxic stuff out of you and the toxic estrogen, everything your body's trying to recycle out of you. So if stress is holding you back from a daily bowel movement, make sure that you're putting in a daily dose of magnesium citrate. Okay, I got to interrupt this video because I have a free guide for you so you can master fasting. It's called A Beginner's Guide to a Fasting Lifestyle, and all you've got to do is click here and you can jump right in. Last one that I want to talk about is magnesium threonate, and this is the one that really helps with your brain. It specifically can help with dreams. So I like to add that one in. Ideally, when I'm taking a magnesium supplement, I like something that's got all of it in there. It's hard to find. One of my favorite is BioOptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough. I will put in the notes down below a link where you can go and order that, get a percentage off. But literally 2 to 3 of these every night is what I do. I literally, this is like you're looking at my bedtime routine. 3 of these, sometimes 2. I back down to 2 if I start getting really loose stools, but for the most part, 3 at night, and wow, what a difference for sleep, what a difference for GI motility the next day, super powerful. I do like to get a magnesium IV once a month, and about once, if it depends if I'm traveling a lot, once a month, once every couple of months, I like to do a float. So I like to get it in as many different ways as possible. But especially for my perimenopause and menopausal women, super important that we pay close attention to these 3 symptoms. But even for men, this is important. And again, it's so interesting to me that when stress is high, when we're not sleeping, when we're having muscle cramping, we fail to look at something as simple as supplementation of a high quality supplement to be able to help us. So really dive into understanding some of the best ways to bring in magnesium for you. Give them all a try. You'll know intuitively which one's the best. But do not lose sight of how powerful this nutrient is. This is one you need on a regular basis. So let me know if you have a magnesium win story. Put it in the comments. But there you go. That's what you need to know about magnesium and the signs that you're getting too low. Hope that helps. I don't want you to waste money on supplements. Your body's a miracle. Buy the right ones. Sometimes you don't buy them at all. Check out this video so you don't waste money on your supplement. When we do the same probiotic over and over and over again, what we're doing is we're creating a monoculture in our gut.